after this show and on YouTube and Twitter right now, KUAM News.
All right, let's head into the KUAM News Zoom room where we're joined by I Hagan Famalåo'an's Monaeka Flores. They're doing a cool little. They actually, it's been going on, but then we got the second release, and so we definitely wanted to get you on here to talk about this. I was just thinking, I need to get a MiFi for the house, and so
Good
this is.
morning.
Go ahead. Then.
Oh no, good, good morning. You need to get a MiFi for the house.
Oh, I mean, coincidentally, I'm just saying. No, but you guys are doing this great thing where you're first of all, there's a webinar, and then you're also giving out MiFis. And I want to say, I'm trying to find the release right here. Then,
Right,
yeah.
it's the second installment in your webinar series regarding Motna, Finding Our Way. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you,
and
Bree.
if you could share more information about the webinar schedules for this weekend.
Thank you so much for having us at a peak time. We feel so special to have been invited to come at a hot time of the morning here at the link. So thanks so much for having us. Yes, I Hagan Famalåo'an Guåhan is an Indigenous Chamorro women's nonprofit organization, and we received a grant from Humanities Guåhan and the National Endowment for the Humanities CARE Act to produce and present a 10-part webinar series, and it is called Motna, Finding Our Way. And it's really for women to examine, analyze, and interpret historical roles of Chamorro women in the Marianas, sustainability practice, and health and Indigenous healing practices within a humanities context. And so we invite Chamorro women scholars, activists, cultural experts, and practitioners. And Chris is right. A component of the project is a laptop and MiFi lending service. And we've had a lot of great applications from women coming in. We've been able to provide 5 laptops and 5 MiFis, portable MiFi devices with data, so that to support participation of women and to support their attendance to the webinar series. And we launched our first event just a couple weeks ago. We're getting into the second event this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Here at Guam time, and it's we broadcast live on our Facebook page. And this Saturday, we've got a great event. It's called Relations, Reciprocity, and Resistance: Indigenous Chamorro Feminisms and Values in the American Naval Period, and that's with Christine Taitano Delisle and Anne Marie Arceo. And they're really going to take a look at the roles of women during that time of history, specifically the Patera Indigenous nurse midwives and the challenges that they faced, but also the values that they continue to embody during the American colonial period. And this whole series is really exciting. It's kind of groundbreaking. We're really excited to provide something like this, especially during this time while everybody's kind of stuck at home or dealing with the challenges of surviving a global pandemic. We think that this is a great offering and a way to really promote visibility of Chamorro women, elevate the conversation a little bit, and really just I think that we kind of take for granted that Chamorro women are visible all the time. We're kind of a new organization. We've only been in existence for a year. And anytime Chamorro women try to make a sovereign space, it's sort of criticized as not as inclusive, or perhaps sort of elitist, or sort of, I don't know, problematic. And so it's really exciting. We've been doing some radical work, and really excited to offer this project.
Did you get to talk with Tina and Anne-Marie about the presentation they're going to give? That sounds pretty interesting. My great-grandmother was actually a midwife, and so she delivered
Wonderful.
babies all throughout the South. So I'm pretty interested in this.
Yeah, I talked to both of them. They're really excited. Tina's got a book actually coming out soon called Placental Politics: Chamorro Women, White Womanhood, and Indigeneity Under U.S. Colonialism in Guam. And she's been doing this work for a while, taking a look at the lives, the stories of the Patera, sort of the intersections of their experiences in a colonial framework, but also the challenges of sort of where the conflicts of tomorrow values and the pressure for American modernity, sort of where those clashes take place in history, and how women were able to sort of circumnavigate some of that and continue to assist women in childbirth and continue the practice. And so Anne-Marie, Arceo, who of course is the Sina Guanifi of Chief Harao Cultural Academy, is going to focus on values as well, and sort of the survival of those values during that time, especially like in Afamaulik, which is, you know, our code of reciprocity, balance, and care for each other. And so it's going to be a very rich conversation. Our first conversation was quite rich. We had Dr. Laura Souter, who literally wrote the book on Chamorro women organizing, Daughters of Guam. And we had a young scholar, Alyssa Santos. They did a phenomenal presentation, which is still available on the Facebook page. It was our first one, so the beginning's a little rough, but really, Alyssa brought out a lot of rich history that a lot of us don't know about women's roles in agriculture. And Dr. Souter, of course, women as the forebearers of culture and the protectors of language. So it's quite a rich conversation. After the second conversation, we're going to have a conversation of women's roles in contemporary history with Leana Naholoa'a and Francine Napati. And that one's going to be called Finding Our Voice. And then after that, we've got a sort of a reflective session with Desiree Ventura, Tamingo Ventura, and Simone Bollinger. And they're going to reflect on the first three and then sort of help lead us in a creative writing response. And then, so there's three themes in the whole series. The first theme is really looking at historical roles, but the second one then gets into sustainability, and then the third into healing and traditional healing, and how the survival of that. So yeah, it's an exciting series, and we're just hopeful that a lot of people attend this Saturday. And the first one, we were really excited. We had quite a few people from all over here in Guam and also in the States attend. We were able to have some live Q&A, and looking forward to Saturday having a lot of the same rich conversation.
We have a comment here from Anita Maternity Blas McHale. Can anyone join in and watch?
Yes, anybody can join in on our Facebook page. That's our way of making it public. And you actually don't have to have Facebook to watch it live on the Facebook page, but it's Facebook /Hagan Guåhan, facebook.com/Hagan Guåhan. If you just look us up.
Jay will put it in the comments then.
Yeah, it's
presentation usually.
That's a great question. They're 90 minutes. Each presenter speaks for about 30 minutes each. And then we have about 30 minutes of discussion. Sometimes we go over, you know, when a sinus speaks, you can't cut them off. So sometimes
no, you just start playing some more music in the background and turn it up, and it's like, okay, I'm done.
You know, we went a little bit over our time the first time, but it was really such a rich conversation that we ended up having, and we were really grateful, especially to the Chamorro women who joined us from the States. You know, we're up really late. They stayed the whole way and participated in the talk. So this one is Saturday morning, so hopefully we'll sort of get. Our first one was Thursday evening during dinner time, so hopefully this time will be a little more accessible for folks to participate. But you can't cut off a sino, you know, once they start.
You know, I think it's going to be interesting is when you start talking about the transition where it went from, you know, the people always using the midwives, right? Especially in the South where, I mean, they didn't have doctors, and I mean, they would do all kinds of stuff like massage, and they could tell you if your baby was going to be breached. And it's crazy to think about when it went from that practice to, like you said, how do you say it? Modernity?
Yeah, modernity. This sort of pressure, you know, the thing about when we talk, the way American history is sort of presented is like when the naval government came to Guam, then all of a sudden medical care had drastically improved. You know, the number of of deaths during decreased in certain regards. But the thing is we don't hear about like cases where complications increase during childbirth, and that's one of the impacts and that take place, where suddenly there's a pressure to take on these modern, more hygienic, more developed practices and abandon traditional practices. And then of course we have to think about the safety of the women themselves, the patera, who had to travel from village to village, house to house, and then the sort of the American male gaze on the women and their activities, and how that conflicted with their families' views about the things that they were doing. And the pressures to sort of how they move becomes heavily policed. What they do becomes judged and criticized. And so it really does put all these crazy pressures on women who have been in practice. This is a practice that's been here for several generations, or was here for several generations. And so there's it's a sort of modernity is a word that was used to sort of categorize what was being imposed on the Chamorro people, but in reality it wasn't always helpful. It wasn't always beneficial for us.
You know what's crazy is we're getting a lot of comments from people who were like, "Oh, but Ted, I heard that back in my mom's time." Someone else has she got me a patera. I only heard this word from my late grandmother and my mom. Chamarita Regis writes, not a lot of pateras on Guam. It's great to know that we are continuing our culture and womanhood. Yeah, Glenn writes, another modern patera is Dr. Shea. No, I don't think so. It's just interesting to me. And this sounds like it would make a great, I mean, it's reality, but it would make a great historical documentary. But I mean, sadly, there's only a few. I mean, through research, of course, you could present all day, but to actually find a midwife who practiced, I mean, they probably don't even exist. I want to say.
Yeah, luckily, Tina was able to interview.
That's great. Yeah.
And so, and some other there are some interviews documented too from other researchers as well. But photos. But you're absolutely right. That's the kind of film or kind of project we love to see is these women's stories really come to life. I mean, I would love to watch a film or a documentary about the patera and hear more of their stories. And so,
because I remember they would talk about it when I was growing up, and they would because they never took money. There would always be, as just part of our culture, right, some kind of like compensation or whatever. And so I remember them saying like, oh, great grandma would bring home like a bunch of salt, or some like dried meat, or they would get like a special treat from another family. So it's definitely very, very interesting. And I think especially during this pandemic, a lot of us are staying home. I think a lot of people are getting into different types of shows, different types of topics. They have a lot of spare time. I mean, I don't know what that's like, but people do have spare time nowadays, and they do things. So I think this is pretty cool to check out. And that's going on Saturday morning. So you guys wake up, you drink your coffee, and it's not just for women. Men are allowed, right?
Yes, men are allowed. Please join us on Saturday morning at our Facebook page.
For people who aren't available to participate Friday morning, are you guys archiving this? And also for the first one with Dr. Laura Souter, I mean, I'd like to watch that. Is it available also on your Facebook page?
Yes, the videos are posted on our Facebook page. They'll continue to be posted. And so if you happen to miss any of them, you can always go back and watch them again on our page. Yeah.
And then before we let you go, like what other types of stuff have you guys been working on? Because I know you did some donation drives during the pandemic, and this is a little different, these presentations, but just what's in store for the group in the near future?
We've been doing a lot of really great projects. We did a COVID community response project, which included purchasing masks and distributing them. We also purchased some sewing machines. Right now we have a number of women sewing masks we've been donating these masks around the island. Some of the materials have been donated, so that's one small project we've done. An agricultural project, a seed sharing project, and Jessica Nangauta was the organizer of that. It included seed, fertilizer, soils, to sort of encourage more home gardening, especially, and food sovereignty. Really trying to look at, how we've had traditional farming practices, how those have shifted, and especially now in a pandemic, where we're so reliant on food imports, how going back to growing your own food is so important. And then another project that we've done recently is a school supplies drive, and two of our younger members led that, Gabby Munya. So that's something that's been happening. So those are some of the sort of the on the ground projects we've been doing. We awarded a number of scholarships a few months ago for Chamorro women to attend classes at UOG and GCC, but also to maybe help with childcare. And we have a few other things coming up. We've got an economic development project coming up for women, which is funded by the Pawanka Indigenous Fund. I'm really excited about that. We'll have some more information about that briefly, but it's going to include some micro lending projects to try to help stimulate some micro business for women here. And a lot of other things. We also just applied for a grant from CAHA, so we're hoping to also do also elevate voices of women artists and women writers. And so a lot of exciting things coming up, hoping to do more. It's important for us to continue to do this work during the pandemic. It's easy to be fatigued and exhausted with everything that's happening, and doing this work is extremely fulfilling, and we're excited to continue to work with our community this way. Yeah.
Right on. Thank. Go ahead, Brie.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. You have a great day. Thanks so much for what you do every day too.
Thank you for waking up early. I like that at the beginning. She was like, "Thank you for letting us have a peak time," and I'm like, "You mean thank you for making you wake up early?" But I think you get up early anyway, right? So.
Well, I definitely had to have some coffee. I was a little nervous talking to you guys so early. So yeah, this is early, pandemic early. No, I'm just kidding. No, Thanks so much for having us during this great time. You guys have a great day.
You too.
Care,
You too.
safe.
Okay, that's that. Jay, put that in the comments. The group's Facebook page.
Yes.
If you want to go and check that out, man. I don't know what the hell this beeping is. I didn't touch anything. But there's a beeping. I'm just letting you guys know that freaking last time it was beeping in the 6 o'clock hour, everything just shut down. I don't know. I think Bree sabotaged something in the studio because she's like, "Oh, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to go."
That's a great way to guarantee job security. It's like, hey, if I'm not there, stuff doesn't work.
I don't know what's it's making me nervous though. I feel like we're under air
No,
raid.
you guys were joking before we went on the air. Yeah, party! It's the man show.
Yeah, testosterone.
Sorry, I just wanted to say something because that last interview with Monaeka was like so fascinating. Have you guys ever heard of the ceremonial the tradition that Palauan women go through when women in their family after they give birth to their first child?
Is this the one with the turmeric?
Yeah, or I believe it's like ginger and tea leaves, where it's like after they give birth and they do like a, it's like I believe they call it like a hot bath, and I don't want to